Here we are, Jay Smith and my good friend, Odon LaFontaine. How are you doing, Odon? So good to have you back.
Listen, very good, very good.
It's great, isn't it?
Jay.
You've been getting a lot of questions, haven't you?
I think so. I've been answering a lot also.
Well, we're going to do that for people here. And we promised that we would do this. We said to you good people that write your problems, write your comments, get it out of your system, confront us, harass us, negate us, try to engage with us, and you've done just that. And so Odon has been looking at them. He has been pulling out salient ones that need answers, that also are important, because it's obvious that many of you are taking this seriously. It's obvious that you are wrestling with some of the material that Odon has been bringing up, specifically Odon. And so this is now time for us to respond to them. And what I'm going to do, Odon has given me about 10 or 11 major questions that need to be answered. Now, we're going to try to put them up one a day, boom, 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 one after the other, so that you can respond or hear about them and respond back. And I'm going to give the name of the person that asked the question, but there may have been 2 or 3 or 4 people that were asking the same questions, but we have chosen one that probably communicates it better than the rest. And as we see Odon there puffing away on his pipe, he's ready to not only puff out what he is going to say, but he's going to also embellish, because in using these questions, he's going to embellish the historical critique against the standard Islamic narrative. It's a great way to do that. This is called peer review. And in the peer review, we then respond to those reviews. So thanks so much for all of those and all of you who have done just that. So let's start with the first one. And this is by Kevin Ex-Muslim. That's his name, Kevin Ex-Muslim. So this is you. Thank you for asking this question. He says this, and it's about the Indian Nasrani from India. The Nasranis are people who live in South India in the Akra religion, and they were followers of St. Thomas when he was in India to preach the words of Jesus Christ. We're talking about the 1st century AD. Thomas was one of the followers of Jesus who then left Palestine, and he came by boat, and he came from the west, actually came to the east, and he supposedly landed in South India. And you have what they call the Martoma Church, which has now, most people from the Martoma Church recognize that their founder was St. Thomas from the 1st century. So he came to India and he preached the words of Jesus Christ. Why in South India for St. Thomas? Why is it that in South India, that St. Thomas, who sailed from the Red Sea there to the Indian Sea, and he was resisted in the South India first? Is this the Nasrani? Was he a Nasrani, is what he is asking. Over to you, Odon. What's your response to that?
There are two responses, two ways of answering. The first one is the Quran itself. This is the Quran which defines the Nazarene people, which it describes. So in the Quran, and we saw this together, Jay, yep, there is a depiction of the Nazarene of the Quran. This is why I call them Quranic Nazarenes. And we see that in the Quran, those people belong to the people of the book, which means that they are not Christians, they are not associationists, which means also that they are Jews. They belong to the Jewish people. So they could not be the Indian Nasrani, the Nazarene from St. Thomas. And the other way of answering this would be to really look into the first centuries and also the very first century of the church. And indeed, St. Thomas went to India, and there he founded churches. And St. Thomas was a Jew who spoke Aramaic. He had the Aramaic gospel with him. He had no Greek gospel with him. And he founded churches among the Jewish community there. you see, he visited the Jewish communities, telling them that the Messiah had come, that he was Jesus, and so on. And they converted and became Nazarene in an Aramaic sense, in the first century Aramaic sense. And those communities kept with the name Nazarene, Nasrani, because they kept a bit with Aramaic. This is a very particular thing with them. They still pray in Aramaic. They have many Aramaic prayers in the church, and they still call themselves Nasrani. Nasrani meaning Nazarene. But do you really think that they were the very same people that we find in the Quran? That those people from India kind of emigrated into the Middle East, in Arabia, in Mesopotamia?
Why the word Nazarene? Why have they used this word? What would it have meant in the first century in Aramaic?
Exactly. This pertains to the Natsaraya word in Aramaic. We did a little study about this in the video about the Quranic people. The Natsaraya and said word, we saw that it meant supporters of the Messiah in the first century sense. Because you see, Enset meant the branch as in Isaiah prophecy. Isaiah said that from the house of David, there shall come forth a branch, a netzer. So the Natsaraya were the one who were waiting for the Messiah to come out of the house of David. And this is why Jesus was named himself a Natsaraya, a Nazarene. Jesus from Nazareth is exactly the same as Jesus the Nazarene, because Nazareth, his city was the city of Nazarene, the city of the royal blood of David, the city of the descendants of David. And this is why the first disciples were given the name Natsaraya. But this is a very complicated name, and this is why I think we see in the book of Acts that the disciples took for themselves the name Christianoi in Greek, which Mshiaye in Aramaic, which means disciple of the Messiah. And you don't have to know about the Jewish tradition about Enset Natsaraya anymore when you use the Christian denomination, because Christian means disciple of the Messiah without having to know everything about Isaiah, his prophecy, David, the Messiah, and so on.
Okay, so you're saying that that we need to be careful that we don't conflate the 7th century meaning back onto the 1st century understanding of Nasariya.
Exactly. The thing with the St. Thomas Christian is that they are not out of time, but they kept the tradition from the 1st century much more better than other churches, and this is why they still hang on to the Nazarene denomination, but they are Christian nonetheless, and they also call themselves Christians.
Okay, thank you so much. I hope that helps you. Kevin, ex-Muslim, do come back with us if you have any other questions. Thank you, Odon. That'll be our question number 1 now answered. We'll put that in the wraps. See if you have any comments below. This is Jay and Odon, over and out.